Welcome back, horror fans. If you were hoping The Strangers Chapter 2 would redeem the franchise, well, prepare for a little bit of a letdown. This is Killer Cuts, and your Strangers Chapter 2 review is coming up in just a moment. This is the heading shows here. It's chapter 24 of our show, Killer Cuts, but chapter 2 of the Strangers three-part series that we've been getting through so far. We tried to be as positive as we could with the first one. This one might be a little bit rougher. We'll get to that in a moment. I'm Bobby Munson, and sat beside me, as always, it's my partner in crime. It's Astrid, Pizarro. How are you doing today?
I don't know where we're gonna start with this one, so we'll see. How are you?
Again, I want to find the silver lining in every cloud when it comes to horror movies. I like a lot of bad horror movies, like really bad horror movies. And so I went into this with a very open mind, especially after seeing those reviews, because those reviews came in, and we'll talk about them towards the end. And I was like, it can't get worse, can it? Like, this cannot keep declining. What is it that is really bugging all the reviewers so much about The Strangers Chapter 2? And then I watched it, and I clued in to every reason why The Strangers Chapter 2 is not clicking with anybody. So just a little bit of the rundown of what it is. Strangers Chapter 2 came out on September 26th. It's an hour and 36 minutes long, but it feels a lot longer than that because it's just boring throughout most of it. So yes, it was directed by Rennie Harlan, written by Alan Cohen and Alan Freeland, and of course stars Madeline Petch. I hope I pronounced that right. Correct me if I'm wrong. As Maya, we got Gabriel Basso as Gregory, Emma Hovarth as Shelley, and Froy Gutierrez as Ryan. That's about where my positivity might end right there, is just talking about the details of it, because I have to ask the question of the people involved. What were you thinking? What were you thinking when you came up with this idea, and what idea were you planning out? What is the end game here? Because we go into this and we essentially take off where we left off last time. Our star is in the hospital now after the attack from the first movie. She finds out that her fiance has not made it. He has passed away. And she's communicating with some sort of family member or friend or something like that via text message to come and pick her up, when all of a sudden there's an alert in the hospital and something's going on. And right away she realizes, I'm guessing it's probably these three psychos that have been after me before. And all this triggered because just before that, we saw a scene inside of the restaurant or the cafe, whatever, diner, whatever we call it in the town, where they said, oh, did you hear about that girl? She survived. And every head in that restaurant turns around like they're part of this entire thing. Just right away snapped around like, oh, she survived, did she? Oh, we got to do something about this. And especially like there was like a elongated pause on the waitress in there kind of thing, who I suspected in the first place. And I'm just like, you cannot keep playing this game with me. She is one of the strangers, and we are going to find this out, if not in this movie, but by chapter 3. And yeah, we did find out. What are your thoughts, Astrid? I need to take a breather here. I need to hear what you thought of this, and we'll get into more of the details.
I mean, I know you're warning me, and you're one of the few people that I trust when it comes to what you're telling me, because I know we can agree well when it comes to horror movies. So I went into it thinking, okay, this is gonna be like okay, to put it like that. So that was my mentality, and then I would say more than halfway through the movie, I messaged you on Discord. I went, this is just one long chase scene. That's what this is so far, and it's just so bizarre. And because, like you said, she's contacting a family member, texting them, but in her room, but then she's a different side of the hospital. She has no signal. I'm like, I hate when movies do stuff like that. She's in the same freaking building. How? And it's like little things like that. I just like, that doesn't make any sense. If she was in the woods, like running away from them, she was in the woods in the middle of nowhere, I would understand that there's no signal at that point. First of all, how is the phone still with battery? This, so many hours later when she's at the hospital by herself. And then she has no signal when she's by the morgue area, basically, of the hospital when she's getting attacked. She was just on her phone texting somebody in her room, and it's the same building. How does that happen?
Yeah.
And it's like those kind of things are the ones that bother me more than anything. It's like there's so many people in between here. You're telling me that there's no cops around after what happened to her. Usually you see in the movies that there's at least a cop or two outside of the room because they know that the person's in danger and it's still continuing because they're alive. I'm like, things like that are just like they could have done better with. The only thing that I particularly love is, and this is something we knew from the get go, is like the continuity that we started as where the movie ended in the first one, and we knew this was gonna happen because they filmed all three movies in a row. So I was like, I like how they continue on from one to the other one, and they don't just ignore what happened or where it left off in the first one.
Yeah.
But I really don't have much positivity to say about it, because not only do we have the chase scenes from her being in the hospital, but then I don't want to say it like that, but she almost looks delusional at points with the visions that she has because she's been obviously chased by these people. She doesn't know who to trust, whether she sees individuals everywhere at this point, which I would understand. But then she is in the woods. She sells herself basically to like stop the bleeding that she has. Again, I don't understand how the screaming didn't help them try to find her. That's another thing that I was okay. How didn't I find her? She was screaming her lungs out at that point. But I think this is probably one of the most bizarre scenes was the one with the wild boar in the woods. I really thought at first that it was one of the strangers in the car that was pushing the car towards her. So I was expecting them to come out that way and do another chase scene there. And all of a sudden I see this wild boar and there's there's a body near the fire. I don't know if it was the wild boar that did it or the strangers. But I was like, that setting of that was so bizarre. And the way she just killed it by kicking it and stabbing it later. Why? That made no sense and no connection to what happened before.
And it's just so ridiculous. Like it's like you say, a constant chase scene with somebody who not only was stabbed in the stomach and sewn back up, but was said to have been on heavy opioids. So again, your mobility and everything like that is going to be thrown off. So outlasts the strangers in every step and turn along the path. And then the wild boar scene happens. And that was a massive wild boar. This isn't like a small little wild boar you see in some movies or anything like that. No, this is like something out of like the prehistoric ages kind of thing comes at her and starts flinging her around too. Like just heavy pounding on this poor gal. And she survives everything. It's like she just gets back up, dusts it back off, washes off her wound, and she's ready to go out chase and outlast and probably defeat the strangers in the process with little to no help. Along the way, she does get some help. There is the one lady that comes out of her house and says, "Don't call the cops, the sheriff's in on it," and then gets shot with I think it was a spear or something, or like some sort of harpoon gun right through the face at that point. And what did she had a gun, but there was like a bullet in it. It was like a 6-shooter revolver, but it had one bullet in the 6 shot. And then she gets in the car with those other 3 people who got to be the creepiest looking human beings on the face of the planet. And they're talking as if they're some sort of psycho killers as well, too. The one guy in the back, and this is in the trailer, too, when he looks at her and he gives that like lip smacking, like he's got a piece of gum stuck between his teeth kind of action that like, give me a break. Seriously, this is so rude. I was laughing at this point. I was sitting there having a laugh at this entire movie and this process. And that's not even us getting into the backstory of the strangers. That is the thing I think I hate the most about this movie. Is not the elongated chase scene. It's not the wild boar. It's the WTF moment of why do the strangers need a backstory? The reason that first movie was so successful, the reason why it still haunts people to this day, and why it was so creepy is because by the end of it, the way they wrap it up is the stranger standing there in front of the 2 people that they've been terrorizing the entire time. And they ask, "Why are you doing this?" And they say, "Because you were home." And that was it. No explanation. That is why it haunted us for so long. But when you go and give a backstory, and you give a backstory to everything, it's like, did we need to know who Tamara was? Did we need to know the reason why they asked if Tamara is home? No, I did not care, because it's creepy as hell not knowing what the hell the reason is for Tamara. And then for it to go back to childhood, and these kids are well, the little girl anyway is completely silent, who we find out is the waitress who actually gets killed in this situation. They lose one of the supposedly three, unless more people are in on it, strangers. And they show us the scene, and they go back, and she gets upset due to, what was it, the other girl showing affection to the other guy that she kind of liked. And then so they play this game in a dollhouse type thing on the playground, and you ask if Tamara's there before entering, kind of thing, and she asks if Tamara's there, and then just beats this other child with a rock at point blank, and they're covered in blood, and her and the other boy just sitting there, and all the parents and teachers are coming out in shock and awe. And I'm like, so a bunch of people know how psychotic these two were from childhood, and yet here we are this many years later. There's all these missing people in the area. They've never said that they were like living across the country in a different place or something. There's no explanation to that. So we're presuming same place. So all the knowledge is there that they've existed. So what's the explanation going to be? That all the adults were like, let's just cover it up. Let's just go with it. You know what? In fact, this is cool. Why don't we all get in on it? Maybe we could just kill people who come into town and, keep our town safe that way. I don't know. I am so puzzled by this. I am so lost in it. And I did not need the backstory, because for me now, the strangers aren't scary anymore.
Yeah. And I feel you. I think the other thing that also, talking about Maya as a character too, is that she ends up going to the house where everything happens. She starts getting flashbacks to the whole thing. And this is the only time we see her eating. I was like, this is the only time that feels like something is like really like almost feels like a reality to it. And she's eating after not eating for so many hours. And she ends up hearing some noises only to find an agent. I forget from what department he was from. But he said, we're investigating the murders that keep happening here because we don't get communication from the sheriff. So something's happening here that basically our department is trying to investigate because we don't know what's happening. A lot of people keep disappearing in this side of town. And I said, okay, this is the only thing that I liked about this aspect of it, because you wonder how long this has been happening. Because in the first one, we see that there's somebody at the beginning of the opening scene that he gets killed there too. And she sees the body in that movie as well. So you're like wondering how long this has been happening, that it keeps happening and nobody's stopping it. So I like that we have an answer to that in the way that the agent saying, yeah, we've known about this. We're trying to investigate it. But he gets killed like 0.5 seconds after he's able to tell her that. So I was like, okay, so we're definitely not going to get an answer to the rest of it. To me, like you said, I don't want the background of the strangers. But what I liked more is the background of like what the agent was saying. It's like, oh, this has been happening for X amount of years, and we don't get an answer about what's happening here or why it's happening. I would have preferred to know, oh, it's the people from the diner. They've just been doing it because they don't want people to come in here to travel around there. This is their town kind of thing. Like that, I would have been fine with. I just don't want any like background on the strangers, because do you leave with questions as who Tamara was and why they did that? If they were the first people that did it too, yeah, you come up with the questions. But the point is that you stay with no answers, because that's the mystery behind it. That's what intrigues you about the movie, and that's what makes you want to come back to watch it. But if you're gonna give me all these answers that feel like bizarre at this point, like the background on the girl and like showing affection to them, it's like that flashback. At first, I thought it was Maya, because one of the first few flashbacks, and then I realized I was thinking, oh, maybe she's dying, and maybe that's why they're giving us flashbacks like this about her life. Until I realized it was the strangers, and I went, why are we learning about them? Because we also have another one of her kind of like almost like in a farm, and there's some girls like talking to the same guy again when they're older. So it looks like they moved from where they were to somewhere else, and it's still the same thing. She doesn't like the fact that the girl, there's girls getting his attention and not her. So it's happened in 2 instances at least. But for me, I want to know why they're killing people in the town that are passing just through the town and not even there to do anything to the town itself. They just want to get through where they want to go, and that's about it. They're just innocent people. But
well,
I feel like they're trying to give us answers to the questions we don't want answers to be honest. And that's the overall, like, it feels like the overall theme of the movie.
Yeah, and like like I kind of ponder this now as like the general idea going to be that, okay, so there's this initial jealousy and stuff like that existed, and has that created this whole like target for couples? Because if there's one consistent thing in all of the Strangers movies is that the targets start as couples kind of thing. And so that could be the explanation to it. It's a terrible explanation that I did not need. Again, like you're saying, it's answers to questions we didn't ask and we never wanted to ask, because that is the appeal of the Strangers. I get it with other horror franchises. It's like we get the backstories, we know every ins and outs and everything like that. And with certain franchises that works. With the Strangers, it doesn't, because that's, like I said, the reason that first one is so damn good is because it's so creepy and it can be so real at times. This starts to, again, while sure, this one's a little outrageous and stuff like that, there's still that realism, that sense that people can wear masks, people can be killers and everything. But when you make it so comically absurd, it starts to take away from all of it. And I feel that that's exactly what they have done here. They've created a caricature of what they think horror is supposed to be. And they've gone back and gone, okay, well, this worked in this movie, and this worked in this movie, and this worked in this movie. Let's try all those things. Let's just put it in a blender and see what works. And we'll put every horror movie cliche in possible. Hospital scene, check. Phone doesn't work halfway through the hospital, but works in other parts of the hospital, check. Like chase scenes through the woods, check. Something scares you that, isn't actually the thing that's chasing you, check. Like all of the things were there. Creepy people who, offer you help, but you don't, I don't know. I could go on and on a list of things that didn't work for me about this movie. But I got to ask you, the real burning question is whether, first of all, I'll be shocked if this gets a run in theater at Chapter 3. I'll be shocked if they put Chapter 3 in theaters now and don't go straight to streaming, because I can't imagine they're making any money at all from this. I think even here, the theatrical run lasted only a couple of weeks and it died out immediately. So there is no interest in these movies whatsoever. How curious are you as a fan to have to see that Chapter 3? Like, is it really a must see, or is this like I'll see it because I kind of started it, so see it through.
And to begin with, even with this one, I feel like the first one had a bigger promotional aspect in marketing than the second one did. So I think that's another thing that could be a factor to it. But from the beginning, just like I remember seeing the first one, my brother, and even he says, like, knowing that there's 3 chapters from beforehand, I don't like the fact that I know already she's going to survive the second one, because that means obviously she has to be there for the third one, at least her. But that was even just at the beginning of the movie without even watching it entirely. It's like, I don't like that aspect because it makes me feel like they're like extending this, like really milking it to that aspect of it. And she has to be in all 3 of them. And to add to, like, as we were saying earlier, like the way that everything happens to her, then she's like fighting with people, she gets stabbed, all these things happen to her. And then she's able to still drive an ambulance and crash it, and then the other person dies but she doesn't. And it's like all these things that, like, she survives so many things in an hour and a half, almost 2 hours of a movie. It's like, how of a superhuman being are you really? And you're by yourself, your fiance's not there, there's just you with no other backup whatsoever. She has no weapons, nothing, she doesn't know who to trust. It's like, really? And you made me, like, even when you told me how the movie was a little bit, and you prepared me mentally for it, and watching it, I kept thinking, how are they going to do Chapter 3 in the movie theater? Because I don't think it's going to do very well. We're going to get more background into the male character of the Strangers. It's like, at this point, I don't want to see it, because what's the point of it? This is one of the few movies that I like having that mystery of, like, do I want to know who the Strangers are? Yes. Are you going to tell me? No. That's fine with me. I was fine with having that mystery behind it of, like, do I want to know who Tamara is? Yes. Are you going to tell me? No. And that was fine too. It's like, and there's so many, like, things of, like, do we know why they got attacked? No, but I really don't care, because that's the mystery behind the movie. That's what intrigued us to watch it to begin with. So you give me those kind of answers. It's like, it doesn't make me want to watch the next one. I'm probably going to watch it anyway, just because I want to finish all 3 of them. And I'm the kind of person that I like my physical media. And from the beginning, I thought, because I like Madeline from Riverdale, then perhaps, like, I'll support her on this project. And I thought I'll probably wait until, like, we get all 3 of them and buy like a 3 box set, the 3-disc box set if they release it. And at this point, I don't even want to get it, because why am I gonna watch the second one now again? and the third one's probably gonna be terrible. Like I feel like they could have easily taken parts and beats and business pieces from this one and probably added it to the third one, knowing that the third one probably has a couple of chase scenes as well too. Because this scene with the wallboard I would have done without, and the parts of her and being in the car with like the staff from the hospital, like scenes like that, I would have definitely would have been able to cut, and still you could have added it out to the third one and still made just two movies out of it, if anything. But I feel like adding a third one just extended it way too long that it should be.
I couldn't agree with you more. It really is. And 3, I dread it. I'm gonna watch it because I will watch every single bad horror movie that comes out on this planet still, and I'll watch every good horror movie as well. But I fear for it. I fear for how boring it's gonna be, how uninteresting it's gonna be, and just the general story. It's like I don't know if I care. We've already been told the sheriff's in on it. So is the sheriff in on it where he is one of the strangers? Are the strangers interchangeable and we're going to see somebody else fill the role next? But then again, it takes away from the aspect. It's like now that we know who it was and we're assuming that that's the little girl in the scene at near the end of the movie, so presumably the one that started it all is now no longer in the picture, arguably. I don't know. I guess we'll find out in the not so anticipated sequel that comes out to this one. We'll see what they do with it. But let's talk about those critic scores for a moment here, because they came in pretty rough. Out of 65 counted on Rotten Tomatoes, we have a 15% approval rating for The Strangers. The audience score, which has 500 verified ratings, has actually got mixed. So at 55%, I was kind of shocked that there was enough verified users that found enough joy in this to give it a positive rating. Rotten Tomatoes is a weird thing too, because it's not like if you're giving it a barely passable rating, it still counts as a positive in the Rotten Tomatoes reading. So even something that's got, say, 90+% doesn't mean that it was like the critics all gave it 10 out of 10. It could mean that they gave it 6.5 out of 10 across the board, but because the average was above as a positive rating, it ends up looking really good when it's posted to Rotten Tomatoes. That's not a slam at Rotten Tomatoes either. It's just how the rankings work. I was just shocked to see that audience gave this a mixed review, yet didn't show up in theaters to watch it, apparently, because this thing has literally tanked. It's come and gone already. I think it's also a detriment. Why did all these horror movies release in September? What was the point? I see nothing but trailers coming out for sci-fi, action, and romance films all October long. And here we are watching horror movies in September, and I'm torn. Why are they doing this to us? Like, had Strangers Chapter 2 come in around Halloween, even though it's not a good movie, you might have collected a better audience overall for it. Just because people like Halloween's a Friday this year. Why is there no horror movie coming out on Halloween night? This makes no sense to me. I don't understand the logic behind it, and I wish I could make logic for it, but there is no logic. This was terrible marketing, terrible release date, and a terrible movie all in one.
And I hate to say it, I hate to agree with it, but yeah, it wasn't fun to watch. It was dreading. I remember like thinking it was. I think I had like more or less like 30 minutes left, and I went, "This is one long chase scene." I was like, "What is this? What am I missing?" You're like, wait until you watch the rest of it. And I was like, that doesn't make you feel better.
Yep. And then I got that message from you afterwards, and I knew right away. I was like, yeah, you share my sentiments. It's we are so positive about a lot of horror, even the stuff that was like, it was okay. We still try to find the good in it, which, we're going to do with other chapters, of course, but not this chapter, not chapter 2 of The Strangers. I mean, other chapters of Killer Cuts. So overall, I got to say, this is one of the lowest points for horror for me in a long time. I've seen some really terrible horror, but this one takes the cake to the points of laughable and comedy-like essence. So this, to me, is my least favorite movie I've seen this year, and it's my least favorite horror movie I've probably seen in the last several years. So how about yourself?
It's definitely up there with this one and the one we're going to be recording next. Is a plug for the next one for Witchboard. So I think that I can recall right now, those are definitely, I think, at the top of my list of like the two that But Strangers is definitely a lot higher than Witchboard is for me. But that's for definitely the in the top somewhere. I'm just trying to think of like if I can remember any other movies that were terrible like that. But these are in the top somewhere for like the worst ones I've seen this year so far. And I was just mainly disappointed because I like The Strangers and watching them with my partner just because I wanted to prepare him for like chapter 2. And I want him to watch it later because I want his thoughts on it at the same time because I watched that ahead of time to review it. I betrayed you this time around watching it at the time, but I can't. This is definitely one of those that are up there because I can't think of really anything else at the moment that was really like I feel like I was dreading myself watching it. Because even Until Dawn, I thought at first because if like of the repetitiveness, it was gonna get boring, but it didn't. So it was better for me than I thought it was gonna be. So it in a way it exceeded my expectations. But I'm not saying it's a great movie either. But yeah, this one is just one of those I can't forgive them for this one.
No, this made It Till Dawn look like a cinematic masterpiece, in my opinion. So yeah, take that with as it is. But we're gonna wrap it up there. I don't want to say I feel dirty talking so negatively about horror movies already. So we're gonna call it on this one. Astrid, why don't you tell the wonderful people what you get coming up and where they can find you?
You can find me in OLE every Tuesday on Taking Over with Ed. I depending on what it happens, you can go back and watch all that we happen. I know I keep mentioning it on Taking Over. We're very close to getting monetized on YouTube. I was gonna say Twitter, jeez, on YouTube. So if you can, whenever you're doing chores or anything you're doing at home, or even working, because I do it while I'm working, keep everything in the background. If you can, watch the replays, even if you've seen the shows. Make sure to leave a comment and a like, and let us know anything you think about the shows. Other than that, you can find me my Twitter and Blue Sky is Astrid Pizarro, my Instagram and Threads Astrid Pizarro 20. And if you go on my social media, the link in my bio, either way, I have a link to my Hot Topic storefront. So anything you want to shop for Halloween, maybe even for Christmas, who knows? And even my Divey Shop affiliate there too. The prices are the same. It just a little bit goes back to me, which I use for the OLE stuff here to help out OLE as a brand, as Bobby does as well. So anything helps to OLE in the end. So why don't we get back somehow? But yeah, pretty much that's it. If you're on my YouTube channel, hit the like button if you haven't, and subscribe as well.
Fantastic. As for myself, my socials are down below where you can find me. Where you can find me on shows, though, you can find me every Thursday night, joined by Papa Smokes, called Ring Respect Radio, where we talk about indie wrestling, we talk about the history of pro wrestling, and then we have some fun and games for you. You can catch me every Saturday with Papa Smokes at Prairie Pro Wrestling's YouTube channel, where we are the commentary team for a new match every single Saturday afternoon. And of course, you can find me back here at OLE every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern. I had to think for a second there. 11 a.m. Eastern, where it's Point of View, your favorite Sunday sports show, where we do talk about your week in sports. Other than that, we appreciate the great stuff that's been going on with the Killer Cuts shorts that we've been doing all month long, a different movie recommendation every single day. That has been fun, exciting. Thank you for the engagement. Thank you to our new subscribers and everybody who's been liking, following, and commenting. All that stuff helps us, including what Astrid said about leaving us on in the background as well, too, to get the video watch times up. We are very close, people, and it's all because of every single one of you wonderful human beings out there. All of that, of course, is OLE Podcast down below across all social media, YouTube and Twitch, where we appreciate all the love, support, and everything that you do. Catch all the great shows from all the great contributors here on the channel, and we will catch you next time with another Killer Cuts. Take care, everybody.